but expenses. They're going to try, and they will. They will cut expenses. But here's the thing, Nico. They've got a really, really hard task, okay? The deficit is 1.8 last year, and it's now running closer to like 2.4 if you annualize the last couple of months. What we're seeing is that's going to be really, really hard to cut. Because 80%, if you take Social Security, Medicare, defense, and interest, you've accounted for 80% of the budget. So even if you cut if you cut the last, 20% to zero, which you can't, you wouldn't balance it. So you've got to go after, and you try and cut Social Security, Medicare, that's the third rail. No politician's going to go for that. Defense guys, they're pretty powerful, and the interest rates are really high. Now, what they could do is they could do financial repression, and I think that's what they're going to force to do. They're going to be forced to do yield curve control. The Fed, in spite of inflation not coming back to 2%, you've seen them already calling for this. Some people saying, well, it's in the book as well. Well, maybe we should have an inflation target of 3 or 4%. They're going to be forced to keep issuing the debt and hold the interest rate below the neutral rate. And that interest rate will at least bring that 1.4 of interest expense down, and that'll help a little bit. But the point is, yield curve control, how do they do that? That means they are buying the debt themselves, which then means their balance sheet is getting bigger, which then means the supply of money in the system is getting bigger. And what's that? That's inflation, okay? As inflation gets bigger, the bond market is devised to give a return over and above inflation. Higher inflation, the bond market says, I'm sorry, I'm not buying that unless you give me this rate. And eventually, the Fed could be sitting there with their balance sheet saying, well, we're going to cap the yields at 4%. The entire bond market could look at it and go, 4%? I don't like that. Sold to you, right? And $36 trillion.
Yeah.
They could sell to the Fed, which has got a $7 trillion balance sheet, right? So suddenly you've just grown the money supply by that amount. That's hyperinflation.
But something's got to give.
Something's got to give.
Something's got to give.
Something's got to give.
But you just can't put a timeline on it.
No, you can't. You don't know how it's going to give. You don't know the form it's going to take. But what we do know, Nico, is it's leading to the big print. There's no other way out. And that's why I wrote the book, because I want to get up on a soapbox and scream at the entire goddamn world. Wake up, guys. Wake up. This is going to happen.
Yeah.
Protect yourself now.
Yeah.
Because there's not going to be a do-over.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you're in Bitcoin, the big print is going to make...
We're going to $1 million a coin.
Yeah.
Gold's going to 10,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts.